You're watching The New Stack Makers, a podcast for people who develop, deploy, and manage at-scale software. For more information and articles about at-scale technologies, please visit thenewstack.io. Now enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The New Stack Makers. I'm your host, Heather Joslyn, Editor-in-Chief of The New Stack, and we're here on the road again, here at KubeCon CloudNativeCon North America in beautiful Atlanta, Georgia. AI is changing everything, and one of the things it's changing is how we think about infrastructure. Today's conversation, we're going to talk about that, and specifically the challenges involved in container infrastructure when it supports AI workers. And by AI workers, we mean agents, we mean LLMs, we mean workloads, we mean, as our guest today says, everything but that's not a meat sack. Our guide for today's conversation is Sean O'Mara, CTO of Mirantis. Hi, Sean.
Hi, Heather. Thanks for having me here.
Sure. Sean, can you tell us a little bit about what Morantis does?
So Morantis has cut its teeth as a cloud infrastructure company. We've spent most of the last 15 to 20 years building large-scale cloud infrastructure. And we've now distilled all of that knowledge into a meta control plane for cloud infrastructure, focusing and moving towards providing that capabilities to run large-scale GPU infrastructure to support AI workers in the future.
Okay, and also just a little bit of disclosure, Morantis and the New Stack are both invested in by Insight Partners. Let's get started in this conversation. Let's talk about the problems to solve with AI workers and container infrastructure in particular.
I think what we're seeing is, we're moving into a world where up till very, very recently, the vast majority of container infrastructure has been run abstract. Mm-hmm. We've moved into the public cloud world, or we run a lot of our workloads today on abstract infrastructure where we don't have a very clear direct connection to the infrastructure underneath that. And that abstraction was by design. We wanted to be able to move workloads, make them portable. We're starting to achieve portability, but it isn't quite perfect yet. But we have this challenge in a GPU world, in an AI LLM world, where we're bound very, very tightly to infrastructure. We don't have that level of portability. And so to manage that infrastructure at any sort of scale raises a whole lot of new complexities. We're also in a world where the hyperscalers, the infrastructure companies have sucked up all of the talent that knows how to run infrastructure because everyone's moved to public cloud and nobody's learning that. And so we're looking at the problem from the point of view of how can we help companies solve managing infrastructure at scale, still maintaining that same expected user experience of run a container anywhere, do it properly, do it efficiently, and if we look at the challenges we're dealing with just to make that happen, the first one is, if I take a GPU, it has a deep relationship to the PCIe bus inside a node. It then has a deep relationship to the network. Then if I want to add multi-tenancy into that whole environment, I have to work out how do I carve up that PCI bus, the network bus, in an NVIDIA world, InfiniBand for the Rocky background. So all of these things have to be dealt with in a way that is abstracted from the user, but still very, very specific and vertical within the infrastructure.
Are there specific problems working at scale?
Yeah. Many people can come along and install 1, 2, 3 nodes by hand. When we're talking about GPU clusters with 2,000 GPUs in them, 125 plus compute nodes, with workloads that are inherently complex and interrelated across all of those compute nodes, we now have to start creating multiple layers of tooling, right from the operating system layer, through to a Kubernetes layer, through the management and lifecycle of Kubernetes. We then have to add on all the operators and all the drivers and all the support layers that just allow us to get access to these things. Now, great, I have access. Now I still need to be an expert to take advantage of them. And then the next layer up is, so how do I actually run things like large language models, run inference at scale? And these are the key complexities that we have to deal with. We have to do them in a way that is familiar. so that your Kubernetes engineer can come along and run his workload. Your developer doesn't have to learn to be an infrastructure engineer. We have to try and stick to open standards to make that work. And Kubernetes is the standard that we've selected to be that open standard.
And how does Morantis approach these challenges?
So we're partnering heavily in the industry. Our platform, the Cordon platform, is designed as a meta control plane. It allows us to provision infrastructure at scale. We can then partner with the great community that's out there, plus many companies that are producing inference layers, application security layers, database layers. Cordon, through our catalog, we can support the deployment and lifecycle management of all of these components, so that the end customer gets a working platform. We call them the beachhead services, those core services required before a workload is put on top of these platforms. But all within this community and out of this catalog of capabilities, so that from a customer point of view, you can deploy on your bare metal locally into public cloud, and through a bit of integration work, we can start to integrate very quickly and easily into the broader AI GPU ecosystem, as well as take advantage of enterprise infrastructure quickly because of the composable nature of what we do. We don't have to do a rip and replace. We can we're additive to the existing environment.
Right. And then you mentioned before we started recording, you mentioned like some of the news that Morantis has they're announcing at this conference.
So I kind of mentioned the challenges around multi-tenancy.
Right.
And what we've found dealing with the multi-tenancy challenge is how do we carve up infrastructure in a very secure and structured way? Now, our bread and butter has been large-scale virtualization platforms for the last few years. So we've extended that experience with virtualization platforms. We've layered on Cordon virtualization into the Cordon toolset, the Cordon framework. So now a customer who is modernizing an environment can come along, they can deploy Cordon, they can have their Kubernetes environment, their container-based environment, but run virtualization in the same environment in parallel to run those workloads that are maybe not yet ready to be virtualized, that are not cost-effective to be containerized, allowing for much more choice and flexibility. We're not looking to be a replacement virtualization to the more popular virtualization platforms. We're looking to be a parallel solution that allows for the containment of both containers and virtualization into the same environments.
We often talk amongst ourselves at TNS about the infrastructure that will be built for AI and that is being built for AI, and there's a little bit of a building the plane while flying the plane aspect to it all right now.
Very much so.
Yeah. And we ask ourselves, who's going to be managing that infrastructure going forward? I mean, how do you see this space evolving?
Well, hopefully us. Look, from our point of view, all of this new infrastructure is being built primarily on Kubernetes platforms. So the Kubernetes community, the experience we have, the work that we've done through projects like the Cluster API, through Metal Cubed, just to name a few, these are the projects that are making the difference for us to now start to leverage them to run these AI platforms at scale. They need to be integrated, they need to be put together. We are training new generations of engineers as part of the way we're looking at our business. We're also hiring for new engineers where we can find them. But as I said, it's scarce skill.
Yeah.
And so for us, it's, can we build tools that are robust enough, and this is our goal, build tools that are robust enough to run infrastructure at scale, build an ecosystem around that, an open community-based ecosystem around that, so that we can start to train the next generation of engineers who are going to be able to take over and run those environments. But also by bringing in automation so that those smart engineers can be focusing on the real problems, then leveraging AI itself.
Yeah.
We're starting to see more and more use of AI agents. The rise of MCP has become a big part of that, and we have a platform in that space that we're developing as part of our Cordon AI for the cloud service providers, which allows us to quickly and easily create new services for the cloud service providers, taking them from bare metal to a sold service within hours and days, not months and years. And so the goal is to automate as much as possible, standardize as much as possible, and we're seeing that standardization being driven across the industry. Companies like NVIDIA are providing very clear standard references, which can be repeatable, which helps solve the complexity for a lot of organizations. Providing tools and support for that.
And you did allude to the perennial shortage of engineers who understand Kubernetes, let alone those who understand AI.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you see as something? I mean, this is a little off topic, maybe, but what do you see as the things that the industry should be doing, the education system should be doing to get people prepared for those roles?
I think they need to make, so let's talk about the two different layers. One is AI and one is infrastructure.
Right.
I mean, there's obviously a lot of crossover between the two of them. More and more we're going to see AI running infrastructure, in my opinion. But I think we have to make these things accessible. A lot of what we have are these black boxes, hyper complex.
Right.
One of the things which we as a community need to do a better job of is documenting, is creating guides, providing information. But at the same time, we have to educate people. I look at what we would consider a digital native. People have to become AI native. They have to start to learn that AI is a tool. We actually had a great conversation about this morning. AI is a tool.
Yeah.
It is not a replacement for humans in the systems, and we have to be careful of if my tool's a hammer, everything's a nail. I'm sure that's not quite the right way of putting it, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yes.
We have to be careful of not trying to slam AI and LLM onto every problem out there, and that's going to take education.
Right.
It's going to take learning through pain, but also companies putting the right guidelines in place and the right guidance in place. If I'm just analyzing logs, I don't need an LLM. I can do that quite effectively with traditional machine learning, much more simply.
Yeah.
But where humans are interacting with the system, LLMs need to be prompted, set up correctly. We have to put the guardrails in place to protect users from themselves.
Yeah. Is there anything on the roadmap at Morantis you can give us hints about? You sort of alluded to something a little bit.
Yeah, there are a couple of very interesting things. We have a component of our core platform, which is our cloud service provider API. It is a agent-based system using a DAG that allows us to look at APIs for cloud service providers in a very, very different way, in a much more composable way for the future. And so this is a core part of our platform. This will be going through a major launch very, very soon. It's already with some of our early customers. So this is a very interesting new piece. And then we're doing a lot of work in the agentic-AI space, looking at what's needed for organizations that need to put guardrails in place around agentic-AI, especially in the enterprise world. Startups tend to be a lot more loose with the way they do things. Enterprises have to be a lot more formal, and they have to put those guardrails in place to protect their businesses.
Okay, and that seems like a good place to wrap up. Thank you very much. I just want to thank our guest, Sean O'Mara of Morantis, for joining us today. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. And I just want to thank all of you for joining us today. And this has been Heather Joslyn for the New Stack Makers here at KubeCon and CloudNativeCon North America in Atlanta, Georgia. We'll see you next time.
If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on all the major social media platforms. You can always find us at thenewstack.io. We hope to see you soon.